So always keep the 3D glasses after a movie. Like, they have a recycling thing, but like, they're not going to give them to someone else. It's not sanitary. They're going to throw them out, so I might as well take it home. What would be exciting is 3D baseball. So you're watching at home, and it's like, you're like, whoa, the ball's coming at you, or the batter swings, you're like, think it's going to hit you. See, that's exciting instead of like, and it prevents you not being on your phone all day. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the Yankees are still searching for a substantial starting pitcher, and now you're hearing Marcus Stroman's name thrown into the mix there, so I'll give my opinion on all that and what the Yankees are ultimately going to do. And of course, Brian Cashman, it's been a kind of a quiet off season where he's doing a lot of what I would call like bargain basement deals. So a couple of more moves, which again maybe didn't get your attention because really no one big involved. So I'll get you caught up in all that good stuff. And of course, get into Gary Sheffield. Now we're saying, well, why Gary Sheffield? Well, not only is his last year of eligibility for the Hall of Fame, I guess getting in the traditional way, but he also has some choice words regarding Joe Torre. This is going back to the 2004, disastrous 2004 ALCS when the Yankees blew the 3-0 lead to Boston there. And supposedly some comments regarding how Joe Torre handled Mariano Rivera in that Game 4, which, Gary Sheffield has a little chip on his shoulder there. So, and again, this was a whole story which I didn't even know about. But again, I'll get you caught up in the whole thing, give you my opinion on that. So before we get started, though, but make sure you subscribe to the podcast. So, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. I know as much as you like to see me, you can hear me more often. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe there. And of course, if you're watching right now on YouTube, and if you haven't done already, subscribe. Or if you're watching on TV and you want to get the episode a few days sooner, go to YouTube right now, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe and get all that. We're just a month away from pitches and catches reporting. So I'm sure there's going to be a few more moves. Again, the starting pitcher there. And of course, we'll analyze stuff going the way. And then we have a whole season ahead of us there. So you want to catch up all the fun. We got Soto, we got Judge, we got hopefully Stanton dropping some weight there, 20 pounds. So hopefully the Yankees are a little more excitable. So again, you want to catch the fun, make sure you subscribe to everything. So according to John Heyman of the New York Post, Hal Steinbrenner is all in on getting a starting pitcher, not just a kind of a Joe Schmo, real substantial starting pitcher. Of course, we all know they struck out on Yamamoto there. And of course, the two big names, because I've been discussing, you hear is, of course, Blake Snell, as well as former Yankee Jordan Montgomery. But there are a couple of other options out there for the Yankees. Of course, you heard Corbin Burns' name being mentioned. Now, I just want to take that one right off the desk immediately. Obviously, with him, he's with the Brewers. That's going to involve a trade, and he's going to be a free agent after 2024. So, the Yankees aren't going to give up any chips to get this guy in when he's just going to go to free agency right after the season there. So, yes, he's a good pitcher. He's a former Cy Young Award winner, even though it was a 2020 the COVID-shortened season. But nevertheless, yes, he would be a good arm to bring in here. But, the Yankees are already giving up a ton of prospects to get in both Soto and Verdugo. I just don't think they're going to give away any more to bring in Burns here. So I'd almost take that one off the table, as well as you keep hearing Dylan Cease from the Chicago White Sox. Same sort of deal. I mean, he's not going to be a free agent until 2026. So, I don't think the Chicago White Sox are really going to want to deal him because they still have him on control a couple of seasons. So, for the Yankees to get him, they're going to have to trade like a boatload because he's going to be under control for another 2 years, making it almost like peanuts there. So, I just don't see those White Sox wanting to give him up unless the Yankees give away a tremendous amount of prospects, which I don't think they're going to do because they kind of unloaded the medicine cabinet, just to get in Verdugo and Soto, as I said. So, and if you look at his numbers, like, all right, he's on a White Sox team that hasn't been good in the past couple of years, but 43 and 35, for his career with an ERA of 3.83. So, hey, pretty good there. But again, I just don't see why the White Sox would want to deal him when he has a couple more years left, and nor would the Yankees have to give up a tremendous amount of prospects in order to get him there. So it's going to have to be a free agency move, which makes sense for either Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, or now you're hearing Marcus Stroman here. Now, the thing with Stroman there's mixed reports. I mean, one report hearing that he would like to join the Yankees, but the Yankees aren't interested in him. And basically, the initial conversation got started back during the GM Winter meetings a few weeks ago. That's kind of when they started the talk start. But really, nothing substantial has gone there. Now, Bob Nightingale has reported that the Yankees would be interested in him. But again, you're hearing other reports the Yankees are not interested in this. So kind of mixed reports on that. Look, for me, Marcus Stroman, he's all right. He's a competent pitcher there. But I don't think someone like you want to invest long term. I mean, there's not really excitable about him. Again, he's good. honestly, I want to see it was terrible if the Yankees picked him up. And if if you're a local fan anyway, he was with the Mets a couple of seasons ago. He was decent. Not saying it would be bad, but I just don't think he's the type of pitcher the Yankees just want to invest in. I think they'd rather have either Snell or Jordan Montgomery, a lefty there. And now it's kind of a weird thing, even though Jordan Montgomery is a former Yankee, you're hearing more that he's more interested in staying with Texas, the team he just won a championship. Whereas Blake Snell, now you're hearing Blake Snell would be interested in the Yankees. It just seems I'm not sure if the Yankees are really too interested in him. Now, number one, between Snell and Jordan Montgomery, Snell's going to command a bigger contract. He has a more impressive resume. He has 2 Cy Youngs. He's just coming off a Cy Young year. Versus Montgomery's this, a good developing pitcher. Again, he had a great postseason run there. So, that is of some value. It's good to know he can pitch in the postseason, but he does not have the resume of Blake Snell. So, of the two of them, I think, Jordan Montgomery would be more affordable. I don't think he's going to ask for as much per year as Blake Snell will, nor would he command a longer term deal now. They're both 31 years old, but again, Blake Snell, he's a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. He's going to cash in now. Like, this is the opportunity to get a big deal. He's going to look for like a 6 or 7 year deal there. So, maybe the Yankees would rather have him, but I think his price per year as well as the deal size he's going to command, I just don't think the Yankees want to go in that direction, especially after last offseason. Again, they spent $160 million on Carlos Rendon, and right now that's looking kind of bad. I think Rendon will bounce back a little bit, but I don't think you want to, after that, put like another $200 million to another guy, which, who knows, he's going to have a season where he's hurt and kind of, you have questions about, kind of his attitude a little bit, and he's a West Coast guy, he's going to be able to handle playing here in the East Coast there, so you're hearing all sorts of different stuff, and of course, Seattle's also interested in him. Now, Blake Snell said, he would have no problem playing for the Yankees, but again, he's a laid-back California type of guy. I just don't know if he would work here in the pressure cooker, getting hammered in the news if he has a couple of bad starts or getting booed by the fans as he coming off the mound there. So, can he handle that? It's hard to remain to be seen. And you think, well, these guys are professionals. They should be able to handle that. Well, look what happened to Carlos Rendon, that game out against the Anaheim Angels where he got booed off the mound by the Yankee fans in California, and he kind of stuck his tongue out there and did some sort of thing there. So, these guys are professional, but maybe they can't handle it. We don't know that. So, I think with Jordan Montgomery, he's been there. He knows the system. The fans, I think, would love him. I think the fans will give him even a little bit more of a leash, even if he has like a tough spot there. And in fact, I don't really remember a situation ever Jordan Montgomery ever getting booed there, just because he's like, he's a homegrown guy. It's like really not to hate about him. I mean, he's never really been terrible, and of course, he'll be a better version of himself when he comes here. So, of all these players involved, I could see possibly Stroman, but I just don't think he's going to go there. But just Jordan Montgomery just makes more sense. I don't think he's going to command a contract more than 4 years there, so he'll be reasonable. Again, he's not like he doesn't have the resume of Blake Snell, who's going to want probably 5 years or more on his deal. And if you want to look at both their arms for his career, Blake Snell has thrown 992 innings pitched versus Montgomery is about 200 innings less, 775. So there's been more wear and tear on Snell's arm. And yes, he's the better pitcher, but if you're going to make an investment right now, I'd rather just get Jordan Montgomery in here versus Blake Snell. I just don't think it's a good fit for the Yankees. And as for Marcus Stroman, I don't know, maybe he'll keep knocking on the Yankees' door, but again, I just don't see the type of guy that the Yankees want to bring in there. Him too, his attitude was a little wacky. His exit from the Mets wasn't that great. He had some weird comments like that, and he had some issues also, seems like, with the Cubs. And I just don't, we don't need any headaches here. Just want to kind of keep a nice, clean, drama-free clubhouse there. So we'll see what the Yankees do. I think Jordan Montgomery is the move to be made, but it's just weird. Like, it seems like he's warming more towards Texas. But again, hopefully the Yankees can lure him over here. This makes the most sense. Now, up to this point, the Yankees really haven't spent any new money on free agents, which is, kind of interesting if you think about it. Like, all the moves the Yankees have made have either been trades, picking up, giving players minor league deals, or just picking up players off the waivers there. So, Cashman's been quite crafty here, and he's like, well, why is he doing that? Well, I kind of mentioned on the audio podcast, which is why you want to subscribe, that if you really look at this Yankee team compared to last year and this year, like, not a lot of money is coming off the books. I mean, really, maybe you look at IKEV, $6 million. Wandy Peralta was probably making about, $3 or $4 million. Other than that, pretty much, it's not like the Yankees lost a guy that was making like $25 million. We're like, oh, great, now we can spread that around. So all that money from last season is pretty much locked into this team year. So that's why you haven't seen Cashman spend a ton of new money. So whenever they, get a starting pitcher, which it seems like they will, it's probably going to be, that'll be like the only deal they make in terms of new free agency money. Other than that, again, it's all been trades, minor league deals, or picking people up, players off the waiver wires here. So I'm just called like the bargain basement, deals or thrift shopping there by Cashman. So there were a couple of moves there. So, in case you didn't catch it, one of them was a pitcher. So as Cody Petit, 29 years old. Now, you might not be familiar with him. So last season, he was with the Royals system, but he was in their AAA system, and he just had one appearance in September. Very similar with the Yankees and Frankie Montas, how Montas was kind of rehabbing the whole year, and they made one appearance for the Yankees here in September, which was meaningless. So this guy was kind of in the same boat. So if you want to look at his numbers, before the Royals, he was with the Marlins and with them. So you want to look at his combined 2021 and 2022. Pitcher combined 58 2/3 innings. Now, this was a combination of 9 starts as well as 10 relief appearances. And in that, he had an ERA of 4.45, so you're not really impressed with that. But what seemed to caught Cashman's eye is his ability to strike batters out there. So he had a 21.5 strikeout ratio. So basically, almost every 5 batters he faces, he strikes out one of them here. So, and again, he has experience as both a starter as well as a reliever. So this someone could potentially be in the mix there for the 5th starter spot. Again, if the Yankees end up not really signing anybody and if have a bit of a competition there. But yeah, he was someone in the mix. Or, since he has a ability to relieve, maybe someone comes out of the bullpen. Again, the Yankees lost Michael King in the Juan Soto trade there, so you kind of need a guy to kind of fill his shoes there. And again, King was, kind of good at coming in the 7th, 8th inning and pitching multiple innings there, so you maybe want a guy who, can log big innings like a starter, but again, come out, be a reliever, and just blow some batters away, with a strikeout, ability there. So I guess that's why he wanted to bring this guy in there. Again, 29 years old. Now, it's a kind of a weird deal. It's a minor league deal that's worth $200,000, but if he makes the major league roster, then he kicks in, is worth $750,000. So again, not a big deal there. It's less than $1 million. So again, it's what I call the thrift store shopping, move by the Yankees here. Now, there's another one here also, Bubba Thompson. Now, he was picked off the waiver wires from the Red system here. And if you look at the guy, he's a pretty big guy, but you figure, why would they be interested in him? But he brings something to the Yankees, what the Yankees desperately need, which is speed. So in the Reds minor league system, he swiped 150 bags and did it at a success rate at 82.9. So basically, every 10 attempts, this guy trying to steal a base, he's successful 8 out of the 10 times there. So, and that's what the Yankees need. I mean, they need speed. Now, hitting-wise, this guy's really never panned out. He was a first-round pick with the Reds in 2017, but hitting-wise was never able to put it together, but he seems to be a bit of a speed demon, which the Yankees kind of need. You remember the Yankees when a couple of seasons ago, when things were really rolling with them, really the 2022 season when they had Tim LoCastro, on the base, they would pay the pinch runner extraordinaire. Basically, someone like Stanton would draw a walk, Tim LoCastro would be on first base. He would steal second base, and through hook or crook somehow, he would end up scoring, either to tie the game up or put the Yankees ahead. Again, that's when the Yankees were really rolling there in the first half of the 2022 season. So the Yankees really haven't had that weapon since. So this kind of guy could be that guy, again, to kind of pinch runner late in the game, or if the Yankees kind of need a run or whatever. Now, he's a left fielder, so he can play outfield. So again, whether the defensive replacement or, someone like Soto maybe tweaks his hamstring in batting practice, at least you could throw the guy out there. So, but this guy is a speedster. And then one final move, bringing in Kevin Smith. No, not the guy from Clerks, but he's a utility infielder. Now, another minor league deal. Again, Cashman giving up a lot of minor league deals, not major league contracts, but a minor league contract to bring him in here. Nothing really to scoff at. Now, he came up through the Toronto system and got traded to the A's when they did the Matt Chapman trade, sending Chapman to Toronto there. So, but never really much with the bat. And again, but he's really being brought in here for a glove. So he's someone who can play shortstop and third base. As you see someone, a utility guy, perhaps again to replace ICAF, who signed a 2-year deal with those same Toronto Blue Jays. But again, I don't see really the need for him. I mean, you still have Oswaldo Cabrera around. You still have Peraza around. I mean, does that mean that they're not now low on Peraza? They're looking to deal Peraza. Plus, the Yankees made, again, another waiver wire pickup of getting Jeter Downs, who's, again, another utility person extraordinaire there. So I don't know if this Cashman just kind of creating a little competition, which makes sense there, or does Cashman see something in this guy that think maybe he would flourish with the Yankees? Hard to say that, but again, these are little bargain basement moves that Cashman isn't doing. Again, the Yankees haven't been spending a lot of new money, just a little thrift shopping. So speaking of waivers, there was an interesting story in the New York Post regarding Cashman's ability to move certain players up and down from the minor league system without the risk of them being put on the waivers. Now, say if a player has no more options left, they could be at the risk of being put on the waivers. Now, if no other team claims them, you could get them back, and that's kind of happened last year with the Yankees with Esteban Florial. But you don't want to do that because you could end up risk losing a prospect. But the Yankees for the 2024 seasons at least have 3 players that they could move up and down, and kind of significant names at least within the system without the risk of losing them being put on the waiver wires, and that would be Oswaldo Cabrera, Yoendrys Gomez, and Luis Gil, especially Gil coming back from that Tommy John surgery. So they have an option left for 2024 season, so Cashman will be able to move them up and down. You figure, well, why that's important? Well, of course, as the season goes on, you have pitchers get injured. Sometimes you need a spot start. You have double headers, rains out. I mean, there's always an emergency situation where you have to dip into the minor league system, and it's just good to know that you could do that without the risk of having to put that player at some point on the waivers there. So, just kind of something that you don't really think about, but it is important. And so, now, you might want to look towards last season with the Yankees with Albert Abreu, if you may remember. Especially towards the end of the year. I mean, kind of an up and down year, but mostly downs, especially towards the end of the year, just getting bombed and rocked. We figure why they stick with him so long. Well, he had no more options left, so the Yankees had to stick with him. If they would have moved him down to the minors there, he probably would have put on the waivers, and possibly another team could have picked him up there. So, because Cashman wanted to protect him, protect the arm, so that's why they kept him on the major league roster. But again, I think even as the year was going, winding down, they were throwing him out there a lot in relief appearances. He was just getting bombed and knocked around. Ended up really being hurt, which kind of makes sense there. But again, the reason the Yankees stuck with him, you figure why they stick with him, is because he had no more options left, so they just wanted to keep him. So that's why they kept him on the major league roster. And if you want to look at some of the moves that Cashman made, I got to mention before with Poteet. You have Poteet, Clayton Beeter. Now, Beeter, who they got from the Dodgers, and that was the Joey Gallo trade there. Gil, I mentioned, Gomez, and Cody Morris, who they traded Florio for a couple of weeks ago to get from the Guardians. So now Cashman has like a good handful of pitchers now. He'll be able to move up and down as the season goes along. And again, that's important for your team. It's one of the things you don't think about, but it is quite interesting. It's just so you can have these pitchers that he has to worry about. You could, have to worry about losing to the waivers. And I guess somewhat Yankee related, but not really Yankee related. But nevertheless, you probably heard Harrison Bader now signs a 1-year deal with the New York Mets. Now, he's 29 years old, so, you figure you would want a longer-term deal than 1 year. But, again, he's often injured, so you can understand why a team wanted to give him a longer commitment. But it's for $10.5 million, which is, again, might be a little high for a guy who's going to get hurt a lot. But, again, he's a high-quality center fielder. He's a Gold Glove caliber center fielder there. So it is worked out when all things are clicking. But, unfortunately, with him, he's pretty much always hurt all the time. In fact, he came to the Yankees in a boot, in the trade for Jordan Montgomery. And, again, last season, just lost a chunk of time. When he kind of came back, I think it was like around May a little bit. That's like the Yankees had a little spurt there, if you remember, between late May into June before Judge, injured his toe there out in Los Angeles, where the Yankees were looking relevant, looked like they were going to finally snap into it. And that was with Harrison Bader. That was kind of a bit of a spark plug. So I think the combination of Bader and again Judge, they're starting to get hot there. The Yankees was like, oh, all right, fine, and they started climbing a little bit up the AL East there. But then unfortunately, once Judge got hurt, that was the end of the whole thing. And then Bader, again, was pretty much unhealthy the entire last season, and the Yankees ended up putting him on the waivers, and he got picked up by the Cincinnati Reds, and he really couldn't do anything for them because guess what? He got hurt. So, I would say it's a big risk for the Mets, so only 1 year deal. So, again, if it turns out that he has another injury-plagued season, you're not stuck with a guy for 5 years there. But, for Bader, look, he's a New York guy. He was a Yankee fan growing up. I'm sure he prefers to play for the Yankees, but I guess the second closest thing is the Mets. At least he's close to home there. So, you're happy for him and see what happens with him. But, again, this is basically a risky move for a Mets team that had a very disappointing 2023 season. I mean, Yankee fans want to complain about 2023. Well, ask a Met fan. It was like twice as bad there. And, again, they had a ton of injuries. So, why are you bringing a guy that is going to get hurt at some point? So kind of a head scratcher there. But again, if he's healthy and things click in a little bit, it's not a terrible move. It's only a 1 year deal. So let's see what happens with him. And if he has a successful year where he's not injured, then at the age of 30, maybe he gets a 4 or 5 year type of commitment deal there. But no one's going to commit long-term money for a guy that's hurt all the time. And it's just kind of interesting because when the offseason just started, the Mets also signed former Yankee Luis Severino, again, a 1 year deal as well. A little bit more, $13 million. But you look at, now they have two players at a combined $23.5 million who were pretty much hurt all last season for the Yankees. So if these guys have a kind of similar year for the Mets, Met fans, of course, they're going to be laser focused on these two. If either of them kind of subpar performance, start to stink, I mean, they're going to really hear it because they're former Yankees, so they're going to get it good there. So let's see what happens. Don't really wish them anything bad. I know it's the Mets. You want to see them fail, of course. But, of course, individually, you like Bader. He was a good guy when he was here. Just unfortunately was hurt. Luis Severino, again, he was our guy. Just he's hurt too much as well where you can't give a long-term deal. But let's see what they do in Queens. So if you're checking X, not Twitter anymore, X, you might have saw Gary Sheffield's name trending a little bit. You're like, well, what's going on with him? Yes, it's his last year of eligibility for the Hall of Fame. Now they're going to announce the 2024 Hall of Fame class on January 23rd. So, keep your ear tuned in for that to see if Sheffield finally makes it in. But he also made some noise. He was on the Foul Territory podcast where he kind of told the story back from 2004, which I didn't even know this was a thing. Kind of saying that he blamed Joe Torre essentially for the Yankees' collapse in the 04 ALCS there. Now, this basically what happened was that the Yankees were up 3-0, as you know. Game 3, it was a blowout. The Yankees just blew the doors off him. They won like 19-8. And figure now with Game 4 there, supposedly Joe Torre told Mariano Rivera early in the game that he wasn't going to be used for Game 4, which, again, I didn't know it was a story. And Joe Torre told a similar story to Boston.com back in 2019. That's one of the things Joe Torre always said he regretted doing. And I guess there's like a mental aspect. Again, Gary Sheffield will know more about this. I mean, obviously he was a player, so he knows the mental edge of this stuff when the player's in the game there. I guess when you tell someone they're not going to be used and then you use them late in the night, maybe it's not there mentally. But again, I really can't put too much blame on Joe Torre for that whole situation. Obviously, the Yankees are up in Game 4, 4-3. This is what Joe Torre's done with Mariano Rivera pretty much the whole way through. I mean, Mariano always pitched 2 innings there to close out a game. Of course, in the regular season, you only use him for 1 inning, but in the postseason, Joe Torre used him for 2 innings all the time. And again, he was the weapon. You get 7 innings out of like an Andy Pettit or an El Duque, and then the last 2 innings would go to Mariano Rivera. It was a formula that worked. It got him at that point 4 championships. Why would you change anything there? So now you got to look at the situation. The Yankees are up 4-3. It's the 8th inning. All right, maybe you told Mo earlier in the day he's not going to be used, but maybe because you thought your offense beat the heck out of them the game before. You scored 19 runs. You probably just figured, you're probably not going to need Mo tonight. We're up 3-0. Boston's probably going to quit. We knocked them out of the ALCS the year before that. We always beat Boston. Boston never beats us. So I can understand why Torre might have thought that early in the day of Game 4, and he maybe told Mo that. But still, you look at the situation. It was ripe for Mariano Rivera. I mean, the Yankees were up 4-3. It's the last 2 innings. Who else are you going to go to? I mean, he's the greatest reliever of all time. Just might be obviously the best closer of all time. It's not even a debate. Hall of Famer, first, top of the line, everything. You're not going to use that guy to close out that game. I mean, even though you're up 3-0, of course you're going to go to Mo. I mean, Joe Torre would have gotten killed. Let's just say you brought in like Paul Quantrill instead, and Quantrill would have blown the lead. They're like, why didn't you bring in Mariano Rivera? I mean, Torre would have gotten destroyed. So even if he maybe should have not said that to Mariano Rivera early in the day, still it was the right move from Torre. And if you look at that Yankee, first of all, the Yankees were even lucky to be up 3-0 at that point there. It was a little bit of a fool's gold. I mean, the Boston, if you look at Boston pitching versus the Yankees pitching, I mean, they had Kurt Schilling, they had Pedro Martinez, both of them on top of the game. Who the Yankees were out there? Okay, Mussina threw a good Game 1 there, but again, he ended up tweaking his hamstring after that. He had an El Duque who was probably, he pitched admirably, but a little bit washed up in 2004. He had like Esteban Loaizaga and Javi Vasquez. I mean, the Yankee starting rotation, don't forget the immortal Kevin Brown as well. So the Yankee starting pitching was not that great. So for the Yankees to be up 3-0 at that point, again, a little bit of a fool's gold there. It shouldn't really have been the case. It's kind of got lucky, and you can understand why then they end up losing the next 4 games in a row there. So, and if you want to look back at the Game 1, you look at the Yankee bullpen, the other options there, the Yankees were up big in that game, but ended up giving up 7 runs in the 7th and 8th inning. So this shows you that Yankee bullpen was not good at all, really. And it was actually Mariano Rivera had to come in. And if you remember the backstory of that whole thing, that's where I guess he had 2 nephews and nieces, unfortunately, got electrocuted in his pool. He had to fly down to Panama, had a funeral, had to fly up, literally landed at the airport, had to be had a police escort take him to Yankee Stadium, and basically came right out and had to save that game. So the Yankee bullpen was not that great that year at all. This wasn't the Yankee bullpen of Ramiro Mendoza, Nelson, and Stanton, where you say, all right, well, if Mo's not available, at least when those guys are competent and can do the job. I mean, that Yankee bullpen at that point, Tom Gordon was burnt out by that point of the season. Paul Quantrill was burnt out by the time of the season. Tanya Sertz had his up and down, but that was not a great Yankee bullpen. So to say that someone else should have been brought into the bullpen other than Mariano Rivera in that Game 4, I don't go with that at all. I just think, look, it just happens sometimes. Boston actually kind of had Mario's number a little bit. I mean, they faced the guy 18 times a year for so many years in a row. I mean, even though his cut fastball is a devastating weapon, they kind of seen Mo so many times, and Mo did have some, struggles against Boston just because look, it's a good team, got some good hitters, and they seen Mo a bunch of times. So, they did get him once in a while, not often. They get it once in a while. Unfortunately, they got him in Game 4 there. It just happened at a wrong time. So I don't blame Joe Torre. I wouldn't blame Mariano Rivera. Look, Rivera's a professional, and he wasn't born yesterday. I'm sure as as that game was going along, hey, I might get used here because the score is tight, and hey, this is my job, this is what I do. So the fact that maybe mentally he wasn't prepared for it early in the day, I don't think that really has any bearing. That messed him up later in the day. And if you want to, you can look at some other examples. For example, Game 7 of the 2001 World Series, where again Mariano blew that lead in Game 7. I'm sure Mo, as soon as he woke up that morning, he knew he was probably going to be used for that game. It's Game 7, and what happens? He has a clean 8th inning, but unfortunately they smacked him around. They got to him in the 9th, and the Yankees ended up losing the game there. So I don't really put too much stock in that. And for Gary Sheffield to blame Torre for that, I just don't see why to blame. Torre made the right move. Even if it was like you shouldn't have told him that early in the day, okay, fine. But it was the right move for Joe Torre. And again, Mariano Rivera had to know that he was going to come to the game when the score was that close. You're not going to just blow that game by putting Paul Quantrill in there. So I don't buy any of that. That Boston team was pretty good. The Yankees were lucky to be up at 3-0 at that point there. But again, and equally as they're lucky to be up 3-0, just unlucky they lost the next 4 in a row, which you could have seen going any way there. So don't blame anyone with that. And Gary Sheffield, I don't know, I like the guy. He was again a fearsome hitter there, but he had him and Torre had a little back and forth there. And Gary Sheffield wasn't too happy how he was handled in 2006. Again, he injured his wrist, tried to come back later in the year. They tried to try him at first base, didn't really work out. And on his way out the door, he had some words. They traded him to Detroit. But to see him and Torre didn't really get along a little bit, so they could have been back from some of that, really. Since then, they seem to patch it up. Gary Sheffield has said that he has since kind of forgiven Torre for it. But again, Joe Torre made the right call there. It's just, it's just Boston got to him. What are you going to do? It just happens with baseball. Only thing you really want to blame Joe Torre about, again, probably the worst management decision he made was 2007. That was the Game 2 in Cleveland with the Cleveland Soldiers, those gnats and stuff on Jabba Chamberlain's mouth and face. He should have pulled the team off the field. That was the one mistake he made there. That was not a condition where, I don't know how any player could pitch, how a hitter can hit when you got gnats and flies in your face. It's a hazard. Somebody got killed. You get hit in the head with a fastball. So the umpire should have took everyone off the field, but Joe Torre specifically should have took his team off the field there. That was the one mistake I'll blame Joe Torre on, because the Yankees probably should have won that Game 2. And I don't know, that was an injured Yankee team, at least with starting rotation there, so I don't know if they would have gone very far there. But again, they would have lasted a little longer in that series. Now let's get back to Gary Sheffield. Another reason why he's making a little bit news is that now this is his last year of eligibility for the Hall of Fame. This is his 10th season. Now, if you don't make it this way, the only way you could get in is by the Veterans Committee there. So, we've kind of seen that with some other players, such as like Harold Baines, for example. So that seems the way Gary Sheffield's going to get in. Now, he got a 55% vote in 2023. So you need 75% of the writers to vote you in. That's a 20 gap there. So that's a big gap to see. So I just don't really see that happening. I'm at 55 to 75 is a lot. If he got like 68 last season, I'll say, all right, maybe they'll get him in there. So I don't think he's going to make it, unfortunately, but I think the Veterans Committee, maybe a year or two after, will put him in. But I'll just quickly go over his numbers there. So lifetime batting average, 292, so almost 300 hitter in this day and age, so you can understand that. 509 home runs, over 500, even though in this era. But there's never been any allegations about Gary Sheffield. 8 times he had 100 or more RBIs, and a total of 1,676 RBIs there. 9-time All-Star, batting title 92, and 5-time Silver Slugger there. Now, never won the MVP, but again, has the stats to possibly get him in. It's just unfortunate. I think he's going to fall just a little short. So we'll see what happens with Sheffield. Again, that's January 23rd, so keep your eyes and ears open, see what happens with him. Unfortunately, he's going to fall a little short, and he's a chippy guy. He's probably going to have an attitude about it. But nevertheless, we'll see what goes there. But, of course, more importantly for the Yankees, again, they'll probably bring in a starting pitcher. I think they would like to get Jordan Montgomery. Possibly Blake Snell will be probably plan B, even though they might have to spurge a little bit more to go there, but they can because they really spend the money on Yamamoto. But they definitely seem to want to get a starting pitcher, so I think the Yankees need it, so let's see who they bring in there. So that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, you should be subscribing. If you're watching right now on YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching on TV, go to YouTube and subscribe. And on TV or YouTube, make sure wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Section 420, Talkin Yankees, subscribe. Get more new content, comes up sooner than all this stuff, so you want to get all the news quicker, and other fun Yankees-related stuff all there in the podcast. Make sure to subscribe. Catch you next time.